So we're going to look here at how we name an angle, how we make it clear which angle we're talking about inside a shape. It might seem logical that we could just say I've got an angle like this one here, and it's labelled as B. Then I could just say that that is angle B. But the problem with that is if we've got a more complicated situation where there's lots of different angles that all might meet at this point B, I can't do that. So for example, say I've got a really complicated picture like this one here, and I said I'm talking about angle D, it wouldn't be clear if I was talking about this red one, this orange one, the yellow one, or the sort of dark red, brown colour one. So we need a way of making it clear which angle we're talking about. So if we go back to our one over here, if I'm calling this point here B, we also give names or letters or labels to the other ends of the angle as well. So A, B, and C. And then so that angle, the one that's sort of made between the points A and B and C, this angle here, the red one, I would call that A, B, C. And to make it clear that that's an angle I'm talking about, we use this little symbol here. It sort of looks a little bit like a less than, but it means angle. So that I'd say that as angle ABC, and the order I put the letters in is important. The actual point where the angle is will always be this one in the middle, so the angle is at B, and it's formed between A and C. So I go from A to B to C, so that is my angle ABC, because I've just sort of traced it out there. And so if I made this this diagram a little bit more complicated, and I put on a third line, so this line here, let's go back to the original colour, black. So if I called that point D, then I'd have two different angles I've made here. Because I could also talk about this blue angle, right? And I wouldn't call that angle ABC anymore. I'd call it angle CBD, right? So B is still the point where the angle is, but I'm not talking about this one up here, the one that's formed between A and C. I'm talking about this angle down here, the one that's formed between C and D. So I go CBD is the order of the letters, so I go CBD, and I've just traced out that blue angle there, right? I suppose I've also got another angle in this diagram. I've got this big one, let's mark that in green, this one here, which is still formed at B, so we're still going to have B in the middle, but this time it's formed between A and D. So what would I call that, that angle? Have a little think, what would I call it? I would call it angle AB D. Okay, so if we go back to that really complicated picture we looked at just a minute ago, where I've got lots of different angles marked in here, say I wanted to name this red angle, let's think about what I'd call that. So here, this red angle, I'd use my little angle symbol there, and it's at D, so D is the letter that's going in the middle, but what's on either side? Well, it's formed between C and E, isn't it? So CDE is what I'm going to call my angle there, CDE. Good. Let's do a couple more just to make sure we kind of get the idea of how this works. If I'm looking at this purple angle in here, clearly it's an angle, so I'm going to use the angle formula. Clearly it's formed at F, so F is going to be my letter that goes in the middle, but what are the bits that go either side then? Well, it's going, if I trace it out, it's going from E down to F and then up to G. So EFG, I reckon, is what I'm going to call that angle. Angle EFG. Let's do a couple more just to check we're happy. How about this orange one? So this one in here, whoops, this one in here is the one I'm talking about. Angle, let's think carefully about which lines it is formed between, or which points it's formed between. It goes F up to D, out to E. So I could call that FDE, like that. Angle FDE would be the orange one. And it's important to say as well, the two letters either side, the C and the E in this case, or the F and the E in this case, doesn't really matter which way around those go. I can go FDE, or I can go EDF. It's the same angle I'm talking about. So let's do one more. This sort of, how about this kind of turquoisey one down here? colour of my pen doesn't quite match the colour of the angle, but it's close enough. So the angle is formed at F, so F goes in the middle, and I could choose to put the A first, or I could choose to put the H first, it doesn't really matter. Let's say that we're going to call this angle AFH. AFH is the name of this angle here, this one here, the sort of turquoisey one at the bottom. A to F to H. That is how we name angles to make it clear which one we're talking about when we've got a sort of a more complicated diagram like this one.